Good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Happiness After Codependency. I'm Marshall Bertrand. I'm your guide in coming back to trusting, knowing, loving, and living who you are. So I'm excited to be with you today. And today we're going to be exploring episode number 5 of Restoring Self-Trust, which is the essential step of trusting in our innate value. So we're going to be getting into that today. And before we do that, it's time to share this out to the community real quickly here. So if you're new to me and you're looking for guidance, tools, and support, and a community that has your back as you heal from codependency, click the link above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and join the community. Now, there's rules that govern the community because we have a tight container designed to help create as much safety as possible as we navigate interacting with each other, navigate our own journey and things like that. So please review the rules before joining. Make sure that you understand what they are, what you understand what is expected of you, and that it helps you know if you're a good fit for that, if the group is a good fit for you and what you're looking for, whatnot. So the links for the rules and the group are above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, sorry about that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And let me know, guys, in the comments below what you get out of today's training. So I'm going to share this out now. Click the buttons here. So, let's see. There we go. Oh, nope. And finally, yes. All right. So, episode number 5 of Restoring Self-Trust. The essential step of trusting our innate value. So in codependency, our sense of worth is attached to the transactional sense of value. So in our previous episode, we talked a bit about this when we were touching on our natural completeness. Our sense of value and worth has been, till we exit codependency, is predicated on the person's happiness or disposition towards us. In other words, if they feel pleased by us, if they feel happy with us, if they are positive towards us, that tends to buoy our sense of value, our sense of worth. This is what's called external orientation or transactional value, where my value is determined by something outside of myself and usually highly dependent on my performance and competence making something happen. To become free of codependency, we have to liberate our sense of worth from that transactional paradigm. We have to step into the precarious and unknown world of innate value. Now, I say precarious and unknown because initially that's what it feels like. It's a very uncomfortable experience initially, but as we get comfortable with it, we start to know it, we start to see the benefits it brings us, we start to really grasp onto and cling to this and then integrate it as a strength for ourselves. Because what innate value is, it is the premise that we have intrinsic worth, period. Our worth does not have to be justified. It doesn't have to be explained. We don't have to argue for it. We don't even have to defend it. It's something we are born with. And it is an experience we can have when we are connected to ourselves. So it's not just a concept in the head, like, oh, I've got worth. It's something we can feel. It's something that can guide us. It's something that can root us into our own sense of purpose, our own sense of direction. And it brings alive within us our true voice and our genuine vision. It's the source by which we come into our own brilliance. So innate value plays an enormous role in my work and codependency in helping us be free from it. It's one of the central points of the work because we got self-trust, we got innate value in the building safe and secure connections based on what works for us. So, but in innate value, this idea can be it can be a big reach. It's like, wow, I have innate value just because I exist? Yeah, right, Marshall, sure. And this is where the essential step of trusting this comes into play. When we don't trust that we have value, we're going to seek it outside of ourselves. We're going to try to earn it through performance. We're going to try to earn it by proving ourselves, by trying to get people to give it to us through pleasing them or trying to get them to give us some sort of praise, some sort of inclusion. We're going to seek value or worth through something. And this is going to keep us trapped in these dynamics of being codependent, of being reliant on someone else for our sense of value. This makes relationships, friendships, businesses, jobs, those kind of things very unstable, very scary, because they hold an enormous amount of power over us if indeed they are defining our sense of value. So retrieving our value and beginning to trust in that innate value liberates us from being entangled with these things and gives us back our ability to make choices and actions that work for us. Because initially, as you exit codependency, you're going to be making choices and taking actions that are very scary. They're very new, very different, very challenging at times. The reason why is because you're making a course correction in your world. And that means some relationships and friendships, opportunities are going to end. New ones are going to come into focus. And our sense of value is going to be greatly pulled on in this process, especially if we don't actually trust in our innate value. So what does it mean to trust in innate value? First of all, it means to trust that it's real, that it's valid, that's a legitimate thing. Because when we don't do that, then we're, again, seeking it outside of ourselves, but we're also trapped in this emptiness within inside ourselves. We're like, well, who am I? What is my worth? Where do I go? What do I do here? So we gotta get connected back to ourselves. And part of that is trusting that our innate value is real. And by giving it a little bit of trust, just a little bit, what that does is it opens up our awareness to it. And we can connect to it and we can start to feel it. Because the one thing I've learned in working with self-esteem, working self-worth, those kind of things, if I don't feel it, I don't believe it. And when I started working around this idea of innate value and getting connected to it, when I started to feel it, it was overwhelming at first. And it was something I didn't even believe I actually had. I'm like, maybe I'm just making this up. But as I continued to trust in the sensations of joy, peace, wholeness, and completeness that emerged from trusting that I had innate value, I started to see how it affected my choices and actions and the results that I was living with in my life. I started to find that I was more decisive, more clear. I actually found indifference to people, points of view of me. I was like, well, yeah, you see it that way. I don't need to change it. Sometimes I'm just like, cool, you see it that way. I go on with my life. Because my value and my sense of person, my sense of legitimacy isn't contingent on the approval of someone else, and it's not destroyed by the rejection someone else might have of me. Like, that's wrong, or they don't agree. Cool. What it allowed me to do is acknowledge the difference that exists between me and others without putting my sense of value, my sense of person at risk. Because they aren't the authority, I am. So an innate value, when we occupy our own space, we are occupying our own legitimacy. And part of that is I have innate value, period. And then trusting in that allows us to sense into it, to feel it. And then the next step is to follow it, to see what it's going to teach you about yourself, to see what it reveals to you about you. Because when we get connected to it and we start trusting it and following it, we start to find out that it's actually what we've been seeking all along. So our relationships become more about connection and understanding each other rather than trying to get some sort of value out of it, some sort of reassurance that we're valuable and lovable. Instead, we're like, I want to get to know you, I want to understand you, and vice versa. We're playing in the grounds our natural state of wholeness and completeness is interacting with someone else's natural state of wholeness and completeness. And then when our anxiety, our insecurities, our fears show up, we can come back to our innate value, view those experiences through that lens of innate value, and care for them rather than project them onto someone else or try to get someone else to fix it for us. Instead, we're going to be like, hey, I'm feeling insecure. What do I need here? And through the lens of innate value, it's like, I need a little reassurance about my connection with them. So I'm going to ask them for a little reassurance, or I'm going to share with them what they mean to me. Sometimes it's like, hey, I can reassure myself. I can be like, hey, yeah, things are going well. This is how it's going on. These are the facts. These are choices and actions that are happening. This is the context it's happening in, and these are the results. So I can do some sane making with it. It allows, when we are oriented towards our innate value, it allows us to be guided by it, and allows us to make better decisions, choices, and actions in response to what shows up for us. And this is why it's essential to trust in our innate value, because by trusting it just a little bit, it gives us access to it so that we can begin to experience its validity, that it's actually a real thing. And then from there, we can expand that into following it and allowing it to guide us, to teach us, to inform us about ourselves and about our life. So that's really it today. It's kind of another short one. We're about, 11 minutes? But yeah. So innate value is a beautiful thing because, well, when my value is not attached to someone else's approval or rejection, I get the chance to know things honestly. I get the chance to make choices and take actions that are honest to me, and that they'll be honest to the other individual. I get to see them for them rather than a projection of what I need them to be so I feel a certain way. It breaks down the codependent fantasy. It shatters its root, basically, and says, hey, I don't need the fantasy. I'm safe acknowledging reality because my value as a person is no longer at risk. It's not on the table for judgment. It's not being controlled by them. It's something that is sacred and it's separate from their point of view. There's real freedom and real power there. And in the 5-day challenge that starts here this coming Monday, I'm going to teach you how to retrieve that value and start trusting it. That's in day 4 of the 5-day challenge. So come and join us. It's free for the live classes. You can get the recordings for $97. That way you can use this the rest of your life. And that way you're putting it to use and experiencing it for yourself. Further, we're going to be doing this kind of work in the self-trust course, retrieving and anchoring trust in our innate value. That'll be in the advanced section of the course. The self-trust course starts January 17th. And enrollment for that course opens up January 10th. There's only 75 spots available, so it's very limited. Got to get in on it early, so watch out for emails and notices on that. So my friends, if you want to join the 5-day challenge, it's the link is above on Facebook and below on YouTube or on my front page of my website at freetheself.com. So back to innate value and why we trust it. I give you a question today to explore throughout your day and throughout tomorrow. What shifts, if you trust just a little bit, that you'll have intrinsic worth? Just want you to explore that question. What shifts, if you trust just a little bit, that you'll have intrinsic worth? That's it. See what starts to show up in your body. What shifts in your awareness? What shifts towards yourself, towards others, towards your needs and wants, towards your pain, and towards your hopes and your joys? Let's see what that reveals to you. Because this is going to start teaching you the legitimacy and validity of innate value. You get to experience it for yourself rather than going, well, yeah, Marshall, that's what you say. No, you get to find out for yourself. And that's the point of my work, is you get to experience it. It's not a concept. It's something you get to live, and then you get to make choices from that place of new awareness about where you go in your world. So that's today's training. Thank you, my friends, for being here. Go play with this. Be adventurous with it. Let me know what you discover. And I will see you guys in our next episode. Okay? Have a great day, guys.